Hannah, written by Gloria Whelan, illustrated by Leslie Bowman.
Chapter 6. When Monday morning came, I had second thoughts about school. I nearly hid from Verna when it was time to go, but the crisp feel of my new dress and the ruffle around the skirt gave me courage. Mama had even found a yellow ribbon to make into a bow for my hair. When we got near the schoolhouse, I started to get scared again, and Verna had to drag me along. A girl whose voice I didn't recognize came up to us. "Your sister's got a pretty dress, Verna," she said. Another girl named Effie said, "What did your sister do to her hair?" Just because I can't see, strangers think I can't hear either, or they believe I am stupid. I was pleased, though, to hear the girls say I looked nice, even if they didn't say it to me. This time, Miss Robin let me sit with Verna instead of making me come up to the front of the classroom, and Carl kept quiet. Miss Robin said for our history lesson, she was going to tell the class a story about the first president of the United States, George Washington. She wanted us all to listen carefully, and then she would ask us questions. If we knew the answers, we must raise our hands. She told us lots of things. George Washington was born in 1732. He grew up in a 4-room farmhouse on a river with a pretty name, the Rappahannock. He couldn't spell very well. He liked to wrestle and dance and act in plays. In the French and Indian War, he had 2 horses shot from under him. Then she told us all about the Revolutionary War and how Washington didn't want to be president. When she finished, Miss Robin started to ask us questions. I kept putting my hand up. I was used to listening hard and memorizing what I heard so I wouldn't lose it. Sometimes I was the only one who had the answer. At recess, Effie asked, "How did you know all those things?" Some girls took my hand and asked me to walk around the schoolyard with them. They said I had pretty hair and wanted to know if I minded not being able to see, and I told them, "Sure I do." Then they wanted to know if I just saw darkness, and I told them I didn't see anything. Pretty soon they stopped asking all those questions and started to talk about which boys they liked best. Effie said she had a new baby sister that cried all night. Another girl said she wished she lived in a big city, and someone else said they hated to gather eggs because the hens had fleas. Verna started to take me back to class, and the other girls ran on ahead. Halfway across the playground, I heard Carl Guino's voice. I stood still, holding tightly onto Verna's hand. Carl said, "I didn't want to come up to you when those dumb girls were there, but I want to tell you I'm sorry about what I said to you the other day." Then I heard him hurrying away. At the table that night, I could hardly stop talking about school. Finally, Mama told me to eat my supper and let them have some peace. Miss Robin had been quiet all through the meal. Just as we were finishing dessert, she said, "I know what I'll do." I heard her get up from the table, and then I heard the kitchen door slam. In no time, she was back, and a lot of things rattled onto the table. "What are you doing with those acorns?" Papa asked her. "Well," she said, "I've been worrying about how I can teach Hannah arithmetic. Mr. Thomas, could you drill holes in these acorns for me? And Mrs. Thomas, could you loan me 3 knitting needles?" Papa said to Miss Robin, "You got some funny ideas." He went and drilled the holes anyhow. Mama got the knitting needles, and Johnny and Verna and I waited to find out what Miss Robin was going to do. "I'm sticking these needles through this heavy cardboard, Hannah, so they will stand up all by themselves. Then we'll make an abacus with the acorns. This is the way people counted 2,000 years ago. This first needle will stand for ones, and the second one for tens, and the third one for hundreds." She began to show me how I could add and subtract by adding and taking away acorns from the 3 needles. "Well," said Papa, "that's a clever trick if I ever saw one. It didn't cost a penny either." "There's one other thing, Mr. Thomas," Miss Robin said. "There was a blind teacher, a Mr. Braille, who invented a way of printing books so that blind people could read. I know where I can get some books, but I wonder if we could send a way for his device that lets blind people write." "Is it free?" Papa asked. "No, I'm afraid it costs money." "Well, you'll have to forget about that." "Yes, sir," said Miss Robin. But she didn't sound like she would forget, and I knew she hadn't, because one day she told all of us at school about Braille. She showed the class pictures of a contraption that made raised dots that let blind people read with their fingers and write by poking at the paper with something called a stylus. Verna described the pictures to me. Then she whispered, "Hannah, it says it costs $5. I knew Papa would never be able to save that much, so I tried to forget about it.